So really, so let's kind of jump in. Let's get this rolling. Okay, so let me kind of preface it with this. When you are going into the sales process, okay, whether it's in the home or on the phone, you could follow two systems, okay, the client system or our ATM Submarine system. Right? Again, I'm going to define that more for you. Okay, so what is the client system? What the client does is they actually create bond and rapport with you. Okay, they're super nice, right? They greet you at the door or they greet you on their phone. They're really nice, and you're like, wow, they like are expecting my call, and they really are creating a conversation with me, right? And then they tell you, then they actually bring up why they need it, okay? They're going to say, well, man, Scott, I'm so glad you called. We really are looking for this. We really need this coverage because my family's going to be hurting if we don't get it. So they're going to tell you everything that you want to hear. And you're thinking, slam dunk, done deal. This is a sale. You are like thinking, I'm going to make $500. What am I going to do with that $500? You're like, your mind is all fired up. You're drooling, right? Which is good on the phone because they can't see you. But in the home, you have to keep your composure, but you're thinking, done deal, baby, done deal. This is a done deal, right? And so you're going to think, oh, I don't got to do anything. Well, and they're going to ask you, well, so Scott, so what is this going to cost us? Tell us, what kind of prices are we looking at? So you start giving prices, you start giving up all your rates because you think it's a done deal. And then, so Joe and Mary, what premium payment you think will best fit your needs and budget? And then a big pause on the line, right? Big pause. And then they say, well, Scott, you have been like one of the best agents we've ever talked to. You have been so kind, and I tell you what, you are one of the best people. You know what? We are so excited that you are going to be serving us. But, okay, the but comes out. But, me and my wife, we have to really make this big decision, and we're going to really think about it right now because we're going to pray on it, okay? Because the Lord said we need this, but we're going to pray on it to see if this is the way the Lord wants us to go, okay? And but you know what? I know the Lord sent you to us. You're like an angel, and they're buttering you up because they did such a great bond rapport with you that you feel like you're, their long lost relative that they haven't seen, the prodigal son that came home, right? And then the reason why they're doing that is because it's easier for them to tell you they want to think about it. So, and you're sitting there going, what the heck happened? I thought this was a slam dunk. Well, what they did is they hoodwinked you. They created a bond rapport, made you feel like you were, they told you everything you wanted to hear. And then they gave you to think about it. And guess what? You go away a loser, and they come away as a loser. Because if Joe dies of a heart attack tomorrow morning, what their sales process did on you was let them go uncovered, okay? And then you are the big loser, man, big loser, right? You got the big L on your forehead, okay? So that's the client sales system. Now, if you don't use our system, you default to their think about it system. And how many of y'all, raise your hand in your own mind, have fallen into the client sales system? How many of y'all done that? Raise your hand. Okay. I'm raising mine. Okay. So what is our system? Our system is a specific system Well, we create bond and rapport. We make the client feel comfortable with us. You know, I'm kind of sick of people saying, make a friend. Man, I make a friend with people that care about their families. I don't make a friend with people that don't care about their families, okay? So the friend part is a matter of time. We'll see what happens if I will call them a friend. Okay, so man, they ain't no friend right away because I don't know if they love their families enough to take care of them. You know what I'm saying? So they're not a friend. I'm creating trust, but they ain't a friend yet. When they become my friend is when I know they love their families, they're going to take care of them. Then they become my friend. Does that make sense? So you are bringing them close, but you're only bringing them so close, right? Enough for them to trust you, you know, they respect you, they might kind of like you, okay? Sometimes people can overdo bond and rapport, and all that does is make it easier for a client to do this, do the think about it, feel comfortable doing the think about it process, okay? So the next part is the upfront contract. And this is where you lay out what's gonna go down. This is what's happening in this meeting, okay? This is what's gonna go down. This is, and you're doing it, you're just laying it out, so you're creating expectations. Okay, now I'm going to be teaching more detail here. One of the biggest things coming out of the upfront contract is that you are giving the client the opportunity to tell you, no, I don't want this. You're going to make it easy for them to tell you, no, I don't want to do this. This is not right for us. Okay, does that make sense? And you're thinking in your mind, all you classic salespeople that like to do features and benefits selling, which is such a loser way of doing it these days. Golly, that marker ain't working. Okay, is that you're going to just tell them what is going to happen. And, you know, real nice way. Doesn't, by the way, these don't take too long. Okay, so you got the upfront contract, you lay out what's going to happen, and then you find their pain. Okay, you do pain finding. You find out why they sent the form in, what was important about that form, who they're trying to take care of, the names. You're learning the names of their beneficiaries, their children's names, their wife or their husband's names, the people that care about them, right? You're finding about what it is that drives them to want to get this, okay? And if they ain't got no pain, then you ain't got no sale. Now, I don't want to sell to anybody who doesn't have pain, because if you are so slick at selling and you end up selling some because you talked them into it, what is that going to be? It's going to be a chargeback waiting to happen, right? So I only serve people that have pain. And by the way, we don't tell them what the pain is. We draw it out of them by asking questions. We draw it out of them by asking them questions about who they love, why they sent the form in, what were they looking for, okay? So we're finding pain. Then we go into budget. Okay, now this, in the Sandler system, budget is finding out what their budget is. But in our system, we can do this, and you've heard people ask them, okay, so Joe and Mary, you know, after you really amp up their pain, right? So what kind of budget do you think you'd like to be in for this, okay? And hopefully after the pain process, their budget just increased, right? Okay, but there's another way to do budget, and budget is just letting them feel comfortable that we're going to take them through a process that they can afford. Like we help people of all kinds of budget, all different budgets, to be able to get something that will take care of their families. Okay, so rest assured, you know, we're going to be able to do that with you. Because look, if it doesn't work for you, budget-wise, then it's not going to work at all, right? If you're not happy with it and this won't cover what you're looking for, then it doesn't make sense. And finally, if you're not comfortable with it, it doesn't make sense. Those are the three things that Brant Swindell uses. And this is where I realized he's actually doing the budget step right here when he starts it. So we make them feel comfortable that it's going to fit their budget. And then we go into the decision-making process, which is the what happens next. Okay, and some of y'all remember, I used to call this the upfront contract when it really, the upfront contract was here, but the decision. So we're going to tell them what is going to happen next as far as them making a decision on what policy is going to work for them. Okay, and this is where you really tie it down. And this decision, if they're not comfortable with the decision-making process that we've laid out for them to take care of their families, which we are fulfilling up here, then we're leaving. This is the decision of go or no go. Okay, but it's the decision-making process. If they're not down with it, then we aren't either. Okay, once they're comfortable with the decision-making process, then we're going to ask them health questions. We're going to come up with 3 different choices. They're going to pick a choice. We're going to apply for it over an electronic application. And this is actually whether you're in the home or on the phone, because we do e-apps in the home all the time, or we can do a paper app in the home. That's the only advantage in home. You have the opportunity to do paper applications, which in some cases opens you up to all the other companies that we have that we can do paper applications with. Okay, but the next part is the fulfillment of the contract. Okay, fulfillment. We call this fulfillment because we're fulfilling the upfront contract, telling what's going to happen. We're fulfilling what the decision-making process is, and then they're going to do their part, which is pick an option, and then we're going to apply, because we don't even know if they can qualify for it. So today, it's not a think about it tonight. You can't tell me think about it, because there's nothing to think about, because we don't even know if you're approved. So we're going to try to get you approved. And that's part of the decision-making process. So the fulfillment is showing them the 3 options, calculating them, calling us to get underwriting recommendations, and then boom, they pick one, right? And then the final step, as we call the post-sell. Okay, this is where we give them our expectations of what's going to happen. We're going to come back and let them know that it got approved, right? We're going to bam-fam into the next meeting where we do the referral system. Kind of depends on if you're on the phone. On the phone, we're going to bam-fam another second appointment to do the ERS, referral system, the annuity slide, and the HMA, okay? If you're on the phone. If you're in the home, we are going to go through the whole process of referrals, the annuities, looking for annuities, the recruiting slide too, and then the HMA, all right? So that's a post-sale. So depending on if you're on the phone or in the home, you know, you're gonna have to weigh which one you're gonna do. And then what happens at the end? Winner, winner, chicken dinner. You win, the client wins, everyone wins in this situation. So which way do you want to have it? You want to do the client system, or do you want to do our ATM subsystem? Okay, submarine system, subsystem. Sounds like an HVAC control. Okay, so let me lay out why is it called a submarine, Alex? I don't understand that. Well, because there are compartments in a submarine, right? So let's kind of draw this out again. Let me use a different marker that I know I've got ink in. Okay, so okay, let me do this. This, my friends, is a submarine. Okay, and this is like the torpedo tube. So if your client no-shows you, then you can torpedo their house. Just kidding. Okay, and then this is the horizontal stabilizer. You got the little, you know, propulsion system. And then we also need our little periscope. I know it's not drawn to size. Okay, so the Sandler system, the ATM subs, by the way, the ATM really, I helped build the ATM, the original ATM. So I made sure it followed our processes. That's why I wanted to make sure that it was handled properly. So let's go through the compartments in the submarine, okay? We've got bond and rapport. We've got the up front contract. And I want to use the same terminology because when you read any Sandler books, and I'm going to recommend one that is the best Well, one of the best, absolutely the best book. No, there's two, but this one rocks, and I'm going to make this recommendation. This will be a game changer for all your closing rates for sure. Okay, then we got pain, finding pain. We got the budget. We have the decision. Okay. We got the fulfillment. Okay, and then this is the post-sale. Okay. So bond report, upfront contract, pain, budget, decision-making process, fulfillment, and post-sale. And these are all very like little key things. And the reason why we look at this as a submarine is because as you progress through the submarine, you know how the submarine, the bulkheads are separate so that if this section of the submarine takes a hit and it starts flooding, you can go out the doors and you can spin the little dial things to lock. I know there's probably some Navy terminology for that little thing that you spin, but it's designed to spin so it closes airtight, watertight, shut so that it doesn't flood the rest of the compartments. So the idea being that you got to start at bond rapport. If you don't get a good bond rapport with the client, then you should not move to the upfront contract, right? But when you feel the good juju going on with the client, then you move on to the upfront contract to let them know what's going to happen, how this process is going to proceed. Once they agree to the upfront contract on continuing with you, then you find the pain. You find why they sent it in. What was it about this form that they sent in that they needed to be taken care of? What needed to be taken care of here? Who's your beneficiary? Who's your loved ones? What would happen if, you know? Then there's the budget where, like I mentioned, you're going to tell them that you're going to make them feel comfortable that we're going to fit it in their budget. Or you can go as far as to ask them, so where do you want this kind of fit in your budget every month? Okay. Again, if you did your payment process right, they were probably going into this thinking $50 a month, but you do the budget process right, it can go to $150 a month, which is exactly what happened with Megan Wood on that video. Remember that video with at the end of that morning, session, she called the first lead, she called the lead, which was the mother. The mother said, talk to my kids, they're going to be ones covering. She called the kids, and then they were thinking $53 a month, ended up being $154 a month after all said and done. So the budget thing will go up if you did the paying process correctly. Okay, and this is all done by asking questions. And then the decision-making process, this is what's going to go down. This is how the decision-making process works. How does it sound to you? How will this work? Does this work for you? And then fulfillment, we show them 3 prices. They pick one, and then we do the e-app, okay, or paper app if you're in the home, okay? And then the post-sale, right, is how we lock down the sale and make sure our placement persistency rocks, okay? So this is the sales system, the sales process. And if you look at all our scripts that exist right now, they all contain every bit of this. And I'm gonna really call it out, make it much more clear as to what you're doing, okay, what you're doing. All right, so let's kind of walk through each one of these sections so you can string along what you're trying to accomplish, okay? Now let me kind of make this little. Bond rapport happens throughout the entire process, but you have to start bond rapport before you're able to move on. So everything you're doing, bond rapport happens, okay? Does that make sense, gang? All right, so let's take this first compartment, bond rapport. Let's talk about what bond rapport is, okay? Bond rapport is creating trust with the client. So they trust you to the point where they're going to give you their social security number, their checking account information, that you got a lot of good juju going on with them, okay? In fact, one of the best books on bond and rapport is this book called How to Make People Like You in 90 Seconds or Less, okay, by Nicholas Boothman. This is a neurolinguistic programming guy, right? This is a neurolinguistic, NLP, neurolinguistic programming guy who teaches you. Now, a lot of it is visual. This is, for the in-home salesperson, this thing rocks, okay? For telesales, this is also important for telesales, okay? But it's more oriented towards, okay? Now, okay, I'm going to share this with you because this is important for telesales. So this is a Sandler sales book. Everything I'm teaching here is in here. The call center success the Sandler way. The most important thing on Bon Rapport in here is the writer goes through communication and how to communicate, okay? This chapter on communication is excellent, okay? So I'm gonna, all right, so let's kind of go through it. Bon Rapport. Now I'm going to give you techniques. Bon Rapport is not just being nice with someone. Oh, let me step back. Okay, getting back to the compartments. If you know what you're trying to accomplish in each phase of the sales process, then you don't got to be memorizing anything, man. That's the one thing, is that our system is not a memorized 3-hour presentation like a Hoover vacuum cleaner, or memorizing that 5-page script with AIL. They won't let you go out in the field with AIL unless you memorize their script. Y'all don't got to do that with this, man. You don't got to remember no stupid script. What you got to remember is the process. You got to remember what you're trying to accomplish at each phase in the process, all right? Bon Rapport, what you're trying to accomplish is establishing trust so that they believe you, okay? They believe, okay? So they trust, okay? 1, 2. They believe you and they trust you. One of the best ways to create bon rapport is by asking questions, finding out about them, their family. You become, quote unquote, an investigator, okay? Then you share stuff about you. One good thing that comes out, there's a bunch of good things coming out of the book by Chris Voss. Never Split the Difference is another book you got to get. Like, seriously, if you want to be a mega producer and don't want to have to go through the 5 years of learning to do it, and you want to start duplicating it quickly, then get these books. If you want to wait 5 years to be a super sales professional, then you can do that too. I'm just saying that reading these books and studying it, highlighting it, and writing out an outline of what you've learned, that's the way to get the learning curve shortened quickly, okay? So that book talks about sharing about you with the client, because how many people do you care about more when you find out more about them? That terminology, to know me is to love me. You share about you, your family, what you care about, the things that you're doing, and so it's an interchange. It's not a one-way street of you have to ask them questions, find out about them, but it's important for you to share about you. Like, one of the best questions in Bon Rapport is, so how did you and your wife meet, right? How did you and your wife meet? Tell me about them, okay? That's actually, this is kind of out of order, but I'm already teaching it. So some of the important questions. How did you meet? Tell me about your story. How did you two met? And then you can share how you and your significant other met. Children's names. So how many kids do you have? 3? Oh, so what are their names? Right? Sammy, Martha, and Mary, right? And then you always use the names of the family, like Mary's the wife. Actually, it's, who do I use? It's like Sammy, Martha, and Bridget, Okay, I mean, that's when I teach this, it's Sammy, Martha, and Bridget. And so whenever you refer to the family, it's not, so tell me, what is your family going to do? No, you use the names of the people because the names resonate with the parent. Like when I use the name of your child, doesn't it resonate with you, right? Just like when I use your name, it resonates with you, right, Todd? Right, Scott? Right, Cheryl? Right, Cindy Rodriguez? When you hear your name, it's music to your ears. So that's why you have to use names. Children's names, the parents' names, names. So you don't say generic family. What's your family going to do? Well, Joe, what's Mary, Sammy, Martha, and Bridget going to do when you die and you don't have this covered? Isn't that more impactful, more emotional than just asking, what is your family going to do? Does that make sense? The only way you know is by asking them questions. How did you meet? Children's names, okay? Because this sets you up for everything else, right? So questions. The other thing about, oh yeah, mirror and match. Okay, so the mirror matching thing is a classic NLP. I mean, that's where it comes from, neurolinguistic programming. I've been doing NLP for 30 years. And whether you know what it is or not, it works. And part of it is the mirror matching idea. You hear it all the time in sales, but you don't really know where it comes from. It comes from Bandler. Bandler and his buddy in the 60s and 70s created this. Anyway, I'm not going to go into it. Vocal mirror matching. So how do you mirror match their voice? Okay. And this is where this book, Call Center Success, talks about communication, right? You think I made this stuff up. I actually didn't. I steal it, okay? Understand that every word of conversation either improves or degrades the quality of your rapport, okay? I don't know if you can see that. Rapport can take 10 seconds or less. So gang, you're not, and like I know some of these old people want to talk. They'll talk your ear off forever. But you gotta take control. We'll talk about how to take control later. But rapport can take 10 seconds or less. You only have seconds to create effective bond with the prospect over the phone. So it's important that you truly understand the science of rapport. So going back to the phone, right? Phone sales, you only have one chance, and the only way you do it is voice. The thing that you have with mirror and matching in the home is you can mirror match body language. This is where you match what if they're sitting forward, you sit forward. When they're sitting back, you sit back. When they're crossing your legs, you're crossing their legs. If they have their hand on their thing, you slowly move your hand on your face too. And they will never know you're doing it. But what happens is you create rapport because you're mirroring their body language. The other thing that happens when you're mirroring body, like I said, man, each one of these bond rapport, I've done an hour seminar. Okay, I'm trying to fit it into about 10 minutes here. The thing about body language, when you mirror match body language, you start feeling what they're feeling. You start feeling sales tension. You start feeling if they're feeling good about you. I'm not going to go into the science of it, but you start feeling what they're feeling. It's almost like getting to their heads when you're mirroring body language. Now, when you're on the phone, you've got a disadvantage because you have no body language other than your own, okay? And this is where body language on the phone is important, because if you're kind of slouching and you're all like, then you end up taking on a posture and your voice sounds like apathetic. It sounds too relaxed, too like, whatever happens, happens, right? You're just kind of like, you're in your underwear, you're on the phone, right? And you're just like, if you dress like you don't care, then you won't care in your voice. But if you dress up like you're going to go into their house, you got your polo shirt on, your nice jeans, you got your kicks on, your Jordans 54. Like, I mean, you're dressed up, man. You got like $300 shoes on. When you're dressed up with the seriousness of taking care of people like you would if you were going into the home, your voice quality changes. Your posture, you know, shoulders back, feet spread apart, your headset's on. You're in command position. This is command position, right? But if you're slouching in your seat and like, oh, okay, you're gonna sound too, I don't know. It affects how you sound on the phone. Have a mirror on your desk. When you're smiling, it comes through. You could be having a bad day, but when you smile, it is so hard to sound depressed. But you gotta smile. Smile, have a mirror in front of you when you're teleselling. Okay, so you can see yourself. Are you, excited? Are you wanting to help somebody? And I'm excited meaning enthusiastic, but not like, hey Joe, what are you doing? I'm not talking about that, man. It's an attitude and mindset is what I'm talking about. Golly, man, I'm blowing my time. I was too ambitious, I think. All right, 3 kinds of communication. There's body language. Okay, so I just mentioned that your tonality changes when your body language changes. Okay, and you sound different on the phone. Okay, body language affects how you're talking to people. Okay, now the voice part. Okay, I'm going to do the quick and dirty version. So the voice is tonality. So that's the first part of vocal bond rapport, tonality, okay? When the client, you keep the client in control when you don't sound dominant over them, right? Dominant sounding is when you're talking like I'm talking now. I'm trying to get through this. Hey, Joe, this is Alex. How are you? Hey, great. Hey, listen, okay? What you got to do is change your tonality to what I call DJ voice. Hey, Joe, this is Alex from Muscle Shoals. Me from Muscle Shoals. From Muscle Shoals, Alabama. Now go into Scott Mills accent. Right? Tonality, you're low and slow. You put the DJ voice on, okay? Volume. Volume is important because that's part of tonality, is you don't want to overpower the client. You're just kind of soft-spoken, laid back. You're still excited, but you're not overpowering them with your volume. You're just like laid back, okay? And what you're trying to do is you're trying to match the volume. You start out low and slow, and then you start raising your volume and to the client. You're trying to match them. Pace, okay? Pace is another important one. Do they speak fast like I'm speaking now? Like I have a guy, like when I'm recruiting, I use all these techniques. This guy talks really fast, and it does everything for me to try to keep up with him. I mean, literally, he talks this fast. I talk fast now because I'm trying to fit all this in. If they talk low and slow, then you just got to slow down as slow as they're going. And you got to actually do it more if you tend to talk fast. Because trust me, you'll never be as slow as what you think the client as slow as they are. Why do you do this? Well, if you are normally very deliberate and measured in your speech pace, someone like me who's talking really fast at you is going to drive you crazy. Like you're trying to catch up to them, right? And people that talk fast tend to be highly visual people, okay? So if they're talking fast, you're talking fast, life's good. But if they're talking slow, bro, sis, you got to slow down. Slow down, because they will understand you, and that's how they process information. So that's, again, this book goes into that in detail. Timbre. Timbre is more that tonality, soft or high. Is it, kind of a softer, deep voice like Todd's, or is it, just kind of higher voice? Like I tend to have a higher voice. Okay. You don't want to totally go way down. If I'm talking to Todd, I'm not going to go down here. It's unnatural. But I'm going to try to emphasize more my lower tones when I'm talking to Todd because his voice is lower. So I'll tend to drop my timbre down a little bit lower. Now, someone who's kind of talks like Michael Jackson, I'm not going to try to talk like Michael Jackson to him. I'll raise my natural voice to be a little bit higher. Hey, Joe, so, Okay, there's just a little bit, doesn't gotta be a lot, and don't gotta make it unnatural. But the point being, mirror matching is the key to telesales, because that's all you have is the voice. And this is where you gotta be totally savvy. This is why it's harder to get ramped up if you've never done telesales, because you have to master this bond rapport part. Because you don't have the good juju when you're in someone's home, because you got all the body language stuff, okay? You have that ability to, you know, the ability to really take care of them. Oh man. And look, body rapport is the most important part, so it's okay that I spent some time on this, because you got to get this. Otherwise, nothing happens in the rest of the submarine unless you get them to trust you and believe you, okay? So the next part that you have to establish is need. Do they need it? Right? Do they need it? And you establish need with upfront contract and pain. So the upfront contract, okay, the first point and what you're trying to accomplish in the upfront contract is telling them you want them to know they can say no. They can halt the process. You want to give them control. You want them to think, like, you're not telling them that you can say no. You can't tell them. You kind of tell them that. But they have to think that they're in control. But what's funny about you asking questions, who's in control? The person asking questions or the person answering questions? Of course, it's the person asking questions. Those are the people in control. So if you say, if you give them the idea that you're just going to barrel into getting them covered without giving them the feeling like they can be in control, man, you're totally blowing it, right? An upfront contract is an agreement made ahead of time about what will take place during the meeting and discussion. An agreement that clarifies what each person's role in the conversation will be. So if you go to our script, okay, so it sounds something like this. So Joe and Mary, just so that I understand exactly what you need, okay? First, I'm going to ask you some additional questions about your situation. Second, I'm going to ask you some basic health questions so I can determine the best programs for what you qualify for. Does that sound reasonable? Okay. Does that make sense? It's as simple as that. Hey, so I can truly understand exactly what you need. First, I'm going to ask you some additional questions about your situation. Second, I'm going to ask you some basic health questions so I can determine the best programs that you may qualify for, okay? So that's off our script. Here are other ways to handle the upfront contract, okay? This is more the Brant Swindell style. Joe and Mary, listen, I have a passion for this business because I'm really passionate about helping people cover their families. Like, for example, my spouse and my kids are covered. I've got a lot of insurance so that they suffer no financial burden if something should happen to me. So I want to make sure I get this right. I want to make sure that I understand your situation fully so that, you know, we can paint the picture and find out how to get this done properly for you, okay? So now, Joe and Mary, what we do is a little bit unique. We don't do a one-size-fits-all type of process. Basically, we try to custom tailor a program exactly for what you're looking for. So no, we're not going to try to shove products at you. I'm going to take some time to really understand your situation so that we make sure that we got you covered. Does that make sense? Wait for answer. They say, yeah, that makes sense. Now look, I want you to know that we represent A-rated carriers, all the top companies in the industry, and we make sure that they pay their claims, okay, and that they're not going to do any funny business. We're only partner with A-rated companies. So we're going to find you a great company, but we're not going to get you paying for great quality. We're going to get you paying for a great company, but we're not going to make you pay Mercedes-Benz prices for a product, you know, that we're going to get you into something that's more affordable. Okay, so we're going to do shopping for you. We're going to make sure you're in the right product. So I'm going to ask you some questions based on your situation. I'm going to ask questions based on your health so I can find the perfect product for you. How's that all sound to you? Boom. Upfront contract. Boom. They want to stay on the phone with you. Boom. We're going to get something done. Okay, we're getting something done. And when they agree to that, okay, then life's good. We can move forward. Okay. So you give them the feeling like when they say yes, it's okay to go on, you give them control. Does that sound good? Does that work for you? You might even want to throw in, does that work for you? Oh, yeah, it works for us. Okay, I just want to make sure, because look, if nothing works, if none of this works for you, then I can just hang up and we can leave as friends. Make sense? Then you give them that extra feeling that they could say no. It's interesting. Once people feel like they can say no, they're going to stay on the phone with you. Okay? You got to give them the sense that they are in control. When they agree to the process, that they are in control of the process. So you got permission to move forward. Okay? That allows you to figure out if they really need what it is we have. So this is where you get into the pain, finding pain. Okay? So pain finding process. Okay, the whole pain finding process is you get them, because people buy on emotion. On emotion, not logic. Okay? They make the decision on emotion, but they justify it by logic. So this is where the emotional part of their brain wants to take care of their families because it appeals to their emotion. Okay? And then their logic kicks in and says, yeah, this makes sense to do, right? Right? And then the moral part of their brain says it's the right thing to do. So logic is they can afford it and it makes sense to do. And from a moral standpoint, it makes sense to take care of their families. You know, there's another way to call this. It's called ethos, pathos, and logos. Okay, this is logos. This is ethos. I'm sorry. This is pathos, and this is logos. Okay, this is what Andy and Jeff were teaching, I don't know, a month ago, 2 months ago. Anyway, I'm not going to get into the detail, but understand this is all backed by Aristotle. Back to the Aristotle days. But first you got to appeal to their pathos. Where's my, oh, here it is. Emotion. So what happens in the pain finding process is you drive them from feeling well to feeling sick to feeling critical, right? To terminal. This is the range of emotions. And then we're going to get them well again. Okay. So this is the pain funnel. It's called a pain funnel. Okay. And you do this by asking questions. So it starts out with questions like, so, and you could say it like this. So, Joan Mary, when most people send this form in, they're worried about putting a financial burden on their families where they find it difficult to make it financially when they die. Okay. Now, is that what you were looking for, or were you looking for something completely different? Oh yeah, that's what I was looking for. So questions like, you know, you can phrase it like that. So why did you send this form in? Okay. Why were you interested? What would happen? So this is, why did you send this form in? Okay. Tell me who your loved ones are that you're trying to protect. Okay, and this is where you get names, 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 and you start using those names. Then you go into the what happens if, okay, so tell me what happens if, you know, you decide you want to think about it, you don't want to do anything today, and then you die of a heart attack tomorrow. Tell me what Mary, Sammy, Bridget, and Martha are going to have to do. And you shut up. See, pain finding is more you shutting up, asking a question, shutting up, and let them answer. Okay, you start drilling down, drilling down, drilling down, and this is the book. Okay, seems like I'm hawking these books. I don't make money off these books, but I make money off you using the information on these books to become a sales professional where you can take care of families. This book rocks. Asking Questions a Sandler Way. Advanced Questioning Strategies. This by Antonio Garrido. Antonio, this book rocks. This is all about, this is your sales career right here. If you want to be a $300,000, $400,000 producer, you would read this book and learn. Oh my gosh, this is like, let me tell you. Look at that. The Magic of Questions. Introduction to Sandler, Walking Through the Submarine. This actually goes through the whole thing. Can we agree to disagree? What are you trying to say? When they zig, you zag. Oh, I love this part. When they zig, you zag. You go opposite of what they think you're going to go. This is such a great way. You have the prospect's attention. Now what? You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's a two-way street. How to answer questions with more questions. In other words, this is called reversing. From knowing to owning. Qualify, qualify, qualify. The universal yes. Good questions lead to good answers. How much time will we need? Questioning masterclass. The anatomy of a sales call. Some of the best possible questions to ask. Gang, this is it. This is it. You master this, you master the entire sales process. Like, I'm not kidding you. And this is like on Amazon, it's cheap. Look, if this was $500, it'd be worth it. But it's like $19.95. And if you buy two of them, it'll be $19.95 times two. I should have an Australian accent when I do that. But the basics of pain finding is getting them emotional about what's going to happen if. So what happens if? So tell me what's your family going to do? Like, are they going to have to pass the hat to pay for your funeral? Are they going to have to do a GoFundMe page? Have you seen those on the internet, GoFundMe pages, because people can't afford a funeral? Do your children have room on their credit cards to be able to put your funeral expenses and final expenses on? That one gets them. Do your kids have enough room on their credit cards to be able to pay for your final expenses? Do you see how you can be so effective? You don't tell them nothing, but you're asking them questions to guide them, okay? So this is how you establish that they need it. So the pain process is establishing that they need it. And if there's any time that you need to spend with the client, it's developing the pain. Because man, if they ain't got pain, then you ain't got a sale, and you need to get the heck out of there. Remember, our system's designed to close 75% of the people you present to. That's the best our top agents have been able to do because of our lead program. Our lead program doesn't filter out everybody, but it filters out 25%. So look, this is designed to close 75% of the people you present to. Now, for brand new people that are just getting started, you can expect about a 55% close rate of people you present to by using this process, okay? The budget, okay? Do they want it? Okay, so this is where you determine in these next two steps, the budget and the decision-making process, do they really want this? You know they need it, do they really want it? Okay, so the budget thing is just like what I said, it's really kind of the three things. Okay, so this is what the budget step sounds like. It sounds like this is what Brant says. Okay, really, Joe and Mary, I really want 3 things to happen for you, okay, so that you feel comfortable. Once we find something that you're comfortable with, we got to make sure that it's got to fit into your budget, which is important, okay? And it's still got to solve the problem, because if we don't solve the problem, then there's no point to doing all this. So if it's not in the budget, there's no point to it. And if you're not comfortable with it at this point, we need to figure out what you're comfortable with before moving forward. Okay, does that make sense? And so you've handled the budget situation because you told them that we're going to fit it in their budget. We're going to find something that fits in their budget, okay? And then you can go further, and you can even go further in asking, so what kind of range did you want to be in that you can afford every month? And again, if you do the paint process well enough and their paint is driven to the max, then their budget all of a sudden got higher. And then they'll give you the ballpark. And trust me, you can probably bust that, what they tell you, by 10%, okay? But I'll try to find something that will stay right in there, okay? So this is how you determine part of how they want it. The next step is the decision process, okay? And this is where you go into further. It sounds like an upfront contract, but you're talking about the decision, okay? So Joe and Mary, now that you know that you want to solve a problem and that you have a budget for it, this is what's going to happen next, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you some more health questions so I can determine what the best product from the best company that we represent will take care of you, okay? Now, once I do that, I'm going to lay out 3 different options for you, and you're going to pick an option that best meets your needs and budget. Once you pick that option, then we're going to determine whether or not you qualify for it by filling out an electronic application. And what that application is going to do is it's going to go to the insurance company, and then they're going to think about you, okay? So tonight's not think about it night because we don't even know if you're qualified. So the insurance company is going to think about you, and they're going to determine whether or not they want to issue this policy based on all those health questions and on your medications that you're taking and operations that you've had. I'd love to give it to you myself, but I'm not the underwriter. I'm the field underwriter, but they're the ultimate underwriters that approve it. Should they approve it, then what they're going to do is they're going to send the policy, they're going to mail it to you or email a version of it to you. And in which case then, once you receive it, we know that you're covered and we know that you can, that you're approved for it, then I'm going to give you a call back, and then we're going to look at it. We're going to go over your policy, make sure you're comfortable with it in every way, that you can afford it, and it's got all the benefits you're looking for, okay? Now, if they come back and say, no, we're not going to approve it, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to call you back. I'm going to come back, and I'm going to show you some other options, because like I said, we got 16 different companies. So I'll find the next best option that will cover the health concern that insurance company had, and we'll be able to get you covered. So Joe and Mary, does that sound good to you? Tonight's not a think about it night tonight. Tonight's really all about trying to figure out what you can afford and then applying for it to see if you qualify. Does that make sense, Joe and Mary? How's that sound to you? How does that hit you, okay? How's that feel? And then you shut up, and that's when you determine, do they really want this, okay? So you laid out the decision process when they say, yeah, you've gotten rid of the think about it stall, didn't you? Golly, man. You got rid of the think about it. Boom, 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 boom. They want it. And number 5, can they afford it? Okay. And you do that through fulfillment. So Joe and Mary, this is just like Megan Wood says, okay, Joe and Mary, I'm going to ask you some health questions. Boom, find out the health questions, get a feel for what you can do for them using our underwriting tools, okay, like I went over on the boot camp, using all the underwriting tools on alliancequoting.com. And then, okay, now give me a couple minutes. I'm going to determine the best product. I'm going to determine the pricing for you, okay? So just bear with me. It's going to take a few minutes. And then you put them on hold and you call us. Alex, I got a client on the line. These are the medications. These are the issues that they're dealing with. Okay. What can we do for them? And I'll tell you what you can do for them. Okay. And then you don't got to worry. Then you get back on the phone. Okay, Joe, Mary, do you got a pen or pencil? Okay, and a piece of paper. This is what I want you to write down. And then you lay out the 3 options. Okay. And you tell them what each option involves. All right. And then you do the same thing in the home. You do the exact same thing. You lay it out for them. Now, which one of these best meets your needs and budget? And then you shut up and let them talk, let them do whatever, let them ask you questions. Boom. While you're doing this, you're pulling up the electronic application. So when they're deciding, you're pulling up the electronic application, and then you're starting to ask them questions. Okay, so Joe, Mary, tell me about, which involves health questions. And you're filling out the app, okay? So that's the fulfillment. That's how you find out if they can afford it, right? The afford part is in the fulfillment. I'm going to add a third one that I've not added before. These are the 6 components to a right to sale. The 6th one is, are they going to keep it? Okay, are they going to keep it? And the keeping part is here, the post-sale process. So the post-sale process involves you telling them what's going to happen next, right? And then you're going to say, okay, now, should they approve you? You can expect, okay, when we send this in, they're going to draft your account, okay, just to make sure that you're covered. So you're covered conditionally when I leave. Like if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, we can submit a claim on your family's behalf. So they conditionally cover you. Okay, so that's why we need to have the banking information. And then they're going to draft your account, right? So they know that they're committed now to this contract of covering you should you die between now and then, right? And so are you okay? Does that feel comfortable for you? Now it's refundable. So should they decide to not approve you, they're going to refund your draft. But what it does is it holds them to covering this should you die before they approve it, okay? So you're going to let them know that the draft's going to happen, right? Or if you put it out, okay, now this is not going to draft until the date that you had put in place, so not till the 15th of the month. Okay, should you get approved, then that's where they're going to do the first draft. Are you good with it? There's no problem. There's no like surprises, because the last thing a client wants is a surprise. So you tell them when the draft's going to come out, all right? Number 2, now do you feel comfortable with this? You know, let's say it's $129 a month. So this is where you're giving them the last chance to say, no, I'm not comfortable. So literally what you're doing here is you're going through the post-sale before you hit the button, okay, before you hit the button to submit the application, because then you can go back and change it. Or do you feel comfortable at $129 a month? Okay, Christmas is coming. Your Christmas bills are coming in January. When you get this $129 drafted out of your account, are you going to call me and tell me you want to cancel this policy? Okay, or vacation's coming up this summer, and you're going to have vacation expenses, and this $129 gets drafted out of your account. Are you going to call me and tell me you want to cancel it? See, because it doesn't do you any good and your family any good if you're going to cancel this and not hold to this commitment over the next, 30 years or 20 years or, for the rest of your life, putting this in place for your family. So what you're doing is you are finding out if there's any hesitation. If there's a long silence, then I would say, well, you know what? This sounds like it might be a little bit too expensive for you. Okay, so why don't we just back it down to option 1, which was $95 a month. If we brought it back down to $95 a month, are you comfortable with that? Okay. Yeah, that sounds so much better. That's how you know you did it right, when they are relieved that you got it back down to where they can afford it. So what you're doing here is you're downselling it, okay? You're downselling it. Do you feel comfortable? Okay. Now, if you're in the home, you could actually do it over the phone. You show them your policy. So Joe and Mary, would you like me to show you what your policy is going to look like? This is such a pre-close question. This is such a tie-down question. Do you want me to show you what your policy is going to look like? Yeah, I guess. Well, let me show you my policy. See this policy right here? I wrote this policy as soon as I got my license. I wrote this policy on December 24th, Christmas Eve, 1999. It actually got approved in December 28th, 1999. Let me show you what your policy is going to look like. Okay, and this is when I'm in the home with them. I show them my policy pages, you know, the benefits. You're going to have a policy information sheet like this that shows the benefits. You see how I covered my family with $150,000. Okay, I got this issued at age 39. This will run through, you know, the 30 years. Okay, there's going to be a section on how much it's going to cost over the next X number of years. So you're going to receive that page. Basically what you're doing is you're pre-delivering the policy to them. But what you're showing them is that you believe in insurance too. I have sold more insurance because I had this and locked down my place in persistency because I showed them that I believe in the product. I showed them a policy from one of our carriers, right? And I show them with conviction. And then they get to touch and feel what their policy is going to look like. Because this whole process has been an intangible process about protecting their families, but they get to see and feel, and they get to wacka this policy so they know that they're going to get something in the mail. Now, if you're going to do a video conference, then you can actually do this on a video conference. On a telephone, I don't know. You know, you can say, Joe and Mary, you made a great decision. It's the same decision I made for my family back in 1999 when the first thing I did when I got my license was I protected my family with a very similar life insurance policy. My policy is with F&G Life, and this is what's in it. So I applaud you. Boom. That's the way I would do it. Okay. Number 4, BAM-FAM. Book a meeting from a meeting. Okay. So if you're going to BAM-FAM them, well, you should BAM-FAM them. You're going to let them know that their policy is approved. Okay. If you're doing the telephone sales, okay, you're going to proceed with the ERS referral system, the annuity slide, okay, the recruiting slide, and the HMA program. So we cover everyone with HMA. So you BAM-FAM a second appointment. All right. So this is kind of the essence of the post-sale, making sure they're comfortable with it, tell them when the draft is, show them or tell them about your policy, and then you BAM-FAM for another appointment. This is how you rock and roll. Now, if you're in the home, this is for, you do all this in home with them, okay? Otherwise, you're doing it on a BAM-FAM if you're doing it over the phone. And then you're going to call them back and tell them their policy is approved. And then if you're doing it in the home, in-home, you personally deliver the policy. Okay, personally deliver the policy. If they receive it and you're doing it over the phone, you are talking them through their policy. So you should have your own policy so you can talk to them through it. So you see that page there that has the summary of your benefits? Okay, great. So that's, if you have any clue as to, you're trying to figure out what's in your policy, that's where you find it, okay? Now you're gonna notice that there's a whole terminology definition section. And see, all these contracts, all these insurance contracts all have the same format. It's all boilerplate. So you can talk them through. There's a section on riders. Do you see where the riders are? Okay, great. This is where you find out about your critical illness rider, your chronic illness rider, your living benefits, okay? Then see the end of the policy, it has your application. You notice your application is, looks like a signature, but it's not, it's an electronic signature. You see that? So that's your application. Boom. you delivered it, either on the phone or in person. That is it, baby. Oh man, I'm so sorry. I don't want to take this long. But like I said, each section can be its own hour-long seminar. Well, I mean, some of these are actually, this could be anyway. So we'll go through more detail on some of these, but this is it. This is how you handle it. Rock on. Okay. So does anyone have any questions at all? Of course, this is a video that I'm going to upload. Any questions? All right. Any answers? Okay, man. I appreciate you being on this. I'm going to get this out to everybody, and then I'll send you all the scripts as I'm going to kind of reorder the scripts a little bit and kind of add all that stuff that I've been talking about here so that you got it all in one tidy little thing. Okay. Rock on, man. God bless. Appreciate you being on the call. Let's do this thing. If you need leads, let me know. We're going to get leads in your hands, and let's just hit the phones. God bless everybody. Take care.